Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss parallel plate capacitor in detail. Of course, we are going to discuss with you the parallel plate capacitor, though we have introduced parallel plate capacitor to you people in the previous lecture also, and you are aware of what is capacitor, what is capacitance. You all know what is capacitance, what do we mean by the capacitor. Even we have derived the expression for the capacitance of the parallel plate capacitor also. Today we will be going to discuss the capacitance with the dielectric slab, with the conducting slab. We will discuss the dielectric strength, and of course we will be going in detail if we have capacitors which are combined in series or in parallel. So the first point, which is just to revise with you all, is we want to discuss capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. But you all must be aware of, when I am talking about parallel plate capacitor, two parallel sheets are there. This is not the size of the parallel sheets. You should not have this size in your mind. These are large sheets which are you can say infinite length but very thin. And you all know, when I am talking about the electric field between two parallel plates, then outside these sheets the field is 0, but inside it is given by sigma upon epsilon naught. Sigma upon epsilon naught is the value of the electric field which is there present between the two parallel plates of the capacitor. And when I want to find the potential difference, here V is the symbol. From the very beginning I have explained, this symbol is used for potential difference. We are not writing it as delta V or dV, but you should be noting it down in your notebooks that V is the symbol for potential difference, because potential difference is there between the two plates. So if V is the potential difference, then by the relation between the E and V, you can write V equals to ED, and the value of E is known to you, that is sigma upon epsilon naught, and D here is the distance between the two parallel plates. Distance is of course very small, it can be 0.5 millimeter. So the distance is not this much large, and the size of the sheets is very large, distance is small. This thing you should keep it in your mind whenever you have to state parallel plate capacitor. It consists of two parallel plates of large infinite length, and the thickness is very small, and the distance between the plates is also very small. So D is very small, it can be 0.5 mm or 0.1 mm, like that. So this is the value of V which I will get for the potential difference between the two parallel plates. But we have discussed this general formula also between the capacitance and the charge stored. Then you can put this value. From here you can take the value V, which will be equals to Q upon C. So you can get the value for C, which is coming out to be A epsilon naught upon D. This we have already derived in the previous class, that capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor is dependent upon the area of each plate. We have assumed capital A, and epsilon naught, because here we have taken air or vacuum as the medium, and D is the distance. Now if I replace this medium with some another medium, then the permittivity will be different. Then it will not be epsilon naught, it will be equals to epsilon. Then for a given medium, the formula for the capacitance will be A epsilon upon D. So epsilon can be replaced by epsilon naught, epsilon R. Epsilon R is of course the dielectric constant, or you can say relative permittivity. So you can say that if the space between the plates is filled with some dielectric, then the formula for the capacitance will be equals to A epsilon naught, epsilon R upon D. This is just to revise your previous lecture, because we have to use this formula for the capacitance, which is for the parallel plate capacitor, in the next slide, and that should be your previous knowledge. Now it means I want to find the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor which is partially filled with the dielectric slab. It means this is the parallel plate capacitor separated by the distance, two parallel plates are separated by the distance small d, as we have assumed earlier. Now let me have a dielectric slab which is not of the same thickness as of the distance between the plates, but less than that. It means small t is taken as the thickness of the dielectric slab. Now what it is, as we have already discussed, that if I keep some dielectric between the conducting plates, these two plates are of course the conducting plates, in which I am able to produce the electric field, and let me say that the electric field which is produced in between these two parallel plates, of course, which are of very large infinite length and thickness is very small, that should be clear in your mind. Now this is the electric field which is of course from positive to negative, which is given by E naught. E naught will be equals to sigma upon epsilon naught, which can be written, sigma is of course the surface charge density. If I am saying the Q is the charge which is there on each plate, then I can say Q upon A epsilon naught if I assume A to be the area of each plate. So this is my assumption, A is the area of the each plate and the separation is D when it is kept in vacuum. So this is your previous knowledge, just we have revised, and this formula for the capacitance also we have derived, that is equals to C equals to epsilon naught A upon D. In place of C I am writing it C naught, because that is just to say that the medium here is vacuum. So now if I am introducing the dielectric slab, then what is going to happen? In between, you know that the polarized field will be there. Here on the negative side positive charge will be induced, and here on this other side negative charge will be there. So polarized electric field will be there because of the polarization, and the direction of this polarizing field will be opposite to this electric field, which is because of these two conducting plates. So this is EP. So in between there is going to be a net electric field which is equals to E naught in this direction minus EP in the opposite direction, but this is the larger one, so net field will be in this direction only. Net field is in this direction. That you have to understand because of the previous knowledge when we have discussed the behavior of the dielectrics when we are putting them in the conducting plates. Now what it is? You have to find the net field inside the dielectric. It means E net, which is equals to E naught minus EP, and this can be written as yours in terms of dielectric constant. If I write K, it can be written as E naught upon K, because we have written already the definition for dielectric constant K, which is equals to E naught upon E. So this net field, when for a dielectric I am writing, this is the formula with me with my previous knowledge, which was equals to F in vacuum divided by F in medium, or I can write it as electric field in the vacuum to the electric field in the medium. So this is the electric field in the medium E, which is the net electric field, which I am writing it as E naught minus EP from this diagram, and this value I am writing from my previous knowledge of the definition of the dielectric constant. So we have to find the potential difference between the capacitor plates, which will be of course V equals to ED from my previous knowledge between the relation between the V and E, but here E is divided into two parts. Now for this thickness T, the net field is equals to E. E is for the T thickness, and for rest of the value, which is equals to D minus T, the value of the field is E naught. So it means V can be written as the sum of E naught into D minus T. For this much thickness the field is E naught, for the T thickness the field is E. So I can write the potential difference by adding these two terms, that is E naught into D minus T plus ET. Now I can write the value of E from this formula, which I have already written here also. So that is E naught upon K into T. So that E naught in both the terms it is there. I can take this E naught out as common, and inside I am getting D minus T plus T upon K. Now I know the value of E naught. E naught is equals to Q upon epsilon naught A, and inside the bracket I am having the same term with me, that is D minus T plus T upon K. Now you know the formula for the capacitance is Q upon V. This value is for V in terms of Q. So from here if you find Q upon V, then I am getting this as the result for the capacitance, that is equals to epsilon naught A upon D minus T plus T upon K. So this is the formula for the capacitance, which of course if you wish you can write it in terms of C naught also. Epsilon naught A upon D, it is equals to C naught. So you may take D common and inside the bracket you will be getting 1 minus T upon D plus T upon dk, and then it can be written as C naught divided by some factor 1 minus T upon D plus T upon dk. C, you will find this capacitance of the medium is always greater than C naught. That you can prove it yourself by putting the values and calculating the things. Now what it is, if I say that the space which is there for the slab thickness becomes equal to the distance between the parallel plates, it means if T becomes equals to D, then what it is, the formula I will be getting, this whole term will be replaced by putting the value there. I am getting C equals to K times C naught. So from here also you may get the definition for the dielectric constant, which is equals to C upon C naught. And for a medium here also you can see that C, it is greater than C naught, because K relative permittivity or the dielectric constant has some value greater than 1, because for air it is assumed nearly 1 and for water it is 80. So if you are able to see the values for the dielectric constant is always greater than 1, so C is always greater than C naught. So both the ways you can prove C is always greater than C naught whenever you are keeping any medium dielectric slab in between the plates of the parallel plate capacitor. Now what it is, the next thing with me is, if I put a conducting slab, this slab is conducting slab which is there kept in between the plates of the parallel plate capacitor. So what it is, that is plus Q and minus Q sheets are there, then what it is, then again the same thing will be there, that you can find E naught is there outside and inside, because of the induction effect net field, but here this field will be equals to 0, because we have already said this thing that yours this field will come out to be 0 whenever I am having the conducting slab in between the two plates. So what it is, this field is going to be 0 in between the conducting slab, so only electric field will be there outside the slab. It means for the thickness D minus T. So now V can be written as E naught into D minus T. From the previous expression you can find the V, but this for this thickness net field will be 0, so only this factor is left. Again you can put the value of E naught, which is coming out to be Q upon epsilon naught A into D minus T, but you know that C, it is equals to Q upon V, so you are getting it is equals to A epsilon naught divided by D minus T, because small q, this Q will get cancelled. And if you want to write it in terms of C naught, then you divide it by D and multiply it with D. So you are going to get this expression for the capacitance, which is D upon D minus T into C naught. So this D upon the factor divided by less than D is of course going to be greater than 1. So C is always going to be greater than C naught. So it means even if I do have a conducting slab or I do have a dielectric slab, C is always found to be greater than C naught, where C naught is the capacitance of course when there is no medium, or you can say vacuum, when it is kept in the vacuum, and C when it is kept in some medium. You can define the dielectric strength. Dielectric strength for an insulating material is the maximum electric field that a pure material can withstand under the ideal conditions. It means whether I am putting mica, I am putting paper as a dielectric, I am putting inside it means in between the plates of the parallel plate capacitor, then it should not break. So how much electric field can be applied to that capacitor? That is going to decide the dielectric strength of that material. So dielectric strength is nothing, it means the maximum electric field. So units and dimensions of the dielectric strength will be same as that of electric field, it means Newton per coulomb or volt per meter. This I have collected some information regarding the dielectric strength of few substances. Like for air, the dielectric strength is 3. It means it can withstand 3 megavolt per meter. This much electric field it can withstand. So similarly, you can see for silica, which is there in glass, this is 472, 670. For vacuum, it is 20 to 40. Dielectric strength of different insulating materials is different, and that is simply the maximum electric field that a pure material can withstand without breaking down. And this is just again for your awareness. If you want to know the dielectric constant of different materials, like for air it is taken as 1, and that is why we always speak in reference to air, like ratio of the forces we speak vacuum upon in the given medium, because for air we are calling it as the 1, of course for dry air, not for most air. So for paper it is 3.7, for water it is 80, for glass it is 5.6. So all these materials, they are behaving like dielectrics only, and that is why we are talking about the dielectric constant, but air is taken as the reference material. So we have taken the value 1, and with reference to that the dielectric constant, of course the relative permittivity of the different materials has been calculated. So this is just to give you awareness that why we are talking about dielectric constant all the time, and what is its use, because if I don't know the dielectric constant, then I will not be able to use it in the capacitors. And there are so many uses of the capacitor. You look, keep finding for the uses of the capacitor. I may ask you in the next class. For now, let me continue with the topic, and I want to find the combination of capacitors. That is, I want to do the grouping of the capacitors like you people have done in class 10th for the resistors in series, resistors in parallel. Same way we have to do the capacitors in series, capacitors in parallel. So two type of grouping is there, one is in series and other is in parallel. So taking the series grouping of the capacitors first, and the series combination, like I am having the capacitors of the different capacitance values are there. C1, C2, C3 are the capacitance for the first, second and third capacitor, and you see they are combined in series. It means negative is combined with the positive of the another capacitor. This you have to note in series. So whenever in the numericals they will give you, you should be able to see, check it out whether they are in series or in parallel. So for that sake you need to understand how and what is happening when I am joining the capacitors in series, when I am joining them in parallel, that is to be understood. So here charge, I am saying plus Q, here minus Q. Of course we have already discussed about the parallel plate capacitors, and in your syllabus it is in detail parallel plate capacitor only. So your focus has to be there on the parallel plate capacitor. Now what it is, charge is same on all the capacitors, but capacitances are different. So it means what is going to be there, potential on all these three capacitors will be different. And let me suppose that the potentials on the capacitors, one is V1, on 2 is V2, on 3 is V3. That is potential difference, of course, across the capacitor C1, first capacitor, that is equals to V1, across the second capacitor it is equals to V2, and across the third capacitor it is equals to V3. This is the key point which you have to keep it in your mind, that charge on each capacitors whenever they are combined in series is same, but because their capacitance is different, so potential difference across each capacitor will be different. So you can find the potential difference across the first capacitor, that is V1, from the formula, basic formula of the capacitance, which is equals to yours Q it is equals to CV, or V can be written as Q upon C. So from there V1 can be written as Q upon C1, V2 can be written as Q upon C2, and for third capacitor V3 can be written as Q upon C3. Now here we are providing the potential V across this series combination, then V can be written as V1 plus V2 plus V3. So you can put the values of the V1, V2 and V3. It means Q upon C1 plus Q upon C2 plus Q upon C3. Q can be taken out, and inside I am left with this values, that is 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2 plus 1 upon C3. This is the value for the potential, total potential, which is provided here in the circuit as shown to you people. Now what it is, if I assume that this whole series combination is there, then charge of course plus Q minus Q, V is same, only the series combination I have replaced by a single capacitor, and the value of that capacitance is CS. CS is the equivalent capacitance of the combination when all the three are there, three capacitors we have taken in series. So if that is a value, then this V should be given by Q upon CS, and this V we have already shown. This is the expression with you, that Q taken out, inside 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2 plus 1 upon C3. So as a result Q is going to get cancelled on both the sides, and I am left with 1 upon CS, it is equals to 1 upon C1 plus 1 upon C2 plus 1 upon C3. This is, otherwise you have done the same result for the parallel resistances. So for keeping in mind, you should be knowing this is for series, just opposite to the case of resistances done earlier. And if I have n such capacitors kept in series, then the general result you can write 1 upon Cs, it is equals to summation of 1 upon Ci, where I is varying from 1 to n. This is the general formula for the series capacitance if I want to find. Similarly, you can derive the expression for the parallel combination of capacitors. Now I am saying I have the three capacitors, C1, C2, C3 are the capacitances of those parallel capacitors which are kept in parallel. Now because they are kept in parallel, so potential difference which is applied across each capacitor is same. So V is the same on all the three capacitors, but capacitances are different. So it means the value of charge which is stored in the capacitor will be different. So this is the main point. So here charges will be having the different values, but the potential will be same, because all the capacitors have a common potential difference. That potential difference V is there. So different charges, so you can calculate the value of charges for all the three capacitors, that is Q1 equals to C1V, Q2 equals to C2V. From the basic formula only you have to write. So this thing is very simple. Q3 it is equals to C3 into V. So total charge which is stored in this combination, you can write Q equals to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. So you can put the value for Q1, Q2, Q3 here, that will be equals to C1 plus C2 plus C3 into V. V is of course the potential difference applied across the ends of the capacitors, which is same for all the three capacitors. So if again we are taking Cp as the equivalent capacitance of the parallel combination, then from the formula you can write Q it is equals to Cp into V, and if you are equating both the equations, you are getting Cp into V it is equals to C1 plus C2 plus C3 into V. So you are getting Cp it is equals to the sum of the capacitances like C1 plus C2 plus C3. So it means for a parallel combination of n capacitors, you can write Cp it is equals to C1 plus C2 plus so on till Cn, or in general you may write the formula for the Cp, that is equals to summation of Ci, which is equals to I varying from 1 to n. So this is the result. Otherwise for the resistances, in case of capacitors the results are otherwise, as in case of the resistances let me discuss the next topic with you, which is the redistribution of the charges and the Coleman potential. Now what I am saying is, if I am having two capacitors which are of course charged to the different potentials, one is C1 and other is C2 capacitance, they are connected with the conducting wire. Whenever you connect two capacitors, of course charge always will flow from one at higher potential to the another at lower potential. This is just like water. Water flows from higher level to the lower level. Similarly, potential charge always flows from a body at higher potential to a body at lower potential. Like in capacitors, we are seeing both the charges, magnitudes we are taking same, but potential difference is there. And this flow of the charge, it will continue till both are obtaining the same potential. This is the definition of the Coleman potential when we are connecting two capacitors with a conducting wire. It means charges will get redistributed to get a Coleman potential. This is to understand that whenever I am having two capacitors, they are connected by a conducting wire, then the charge will flow till both the capacitors they get the same potential. Like in water flows from one higher level to the lower level till both the containers have same water level. Similarly, when they both are having the same potential, that same potential is termed as Coleman potential. So whenever I am connecting the capacitors in series, here we are going to connect of course with a conducting wire two capacitors. This way, it means if I am saying C1 and C2 are two capacitors, potential differences you may say V1 and V2, and the charges are as shown. Then this is before joining. So before joining, Q1 can be written as C1 V1, Q2 can be written as C2 V2, because we are willing to derive the expression for the Coleman potential. This is our aim now. What is Coleman potential we have discussed, and you should be noting this point that whenever sharing of charges is there, you should be knowing that no charge is lost in this process. Charge is only transferred from one to another, but no charge is lost. And before connecting with the conducting wire, if I am saying C1, C2 are the capacitances, V1, V2 are the potential differences, then Q1 and Q2 values can be written. So before sharing, the total charge can be written as Q1 plus Q2, and the value of Q1, Q2 you know, that is equals to C1, V1 plus C2, V2. So this is the total charge before sharing. This is, you may call it as equation number 1. Now what happens when we connect them with the conducting wire, then we are saying they both will be attaining the same potential, because the charge will flow from one capacitor to the another till both are obtaining the same potential, and that same potential we are calling it as the Coleman potential. So if we assume, let capital V is the Coleman potential which is attained on sharing the charges, then total charge after sharing I will be having, it means Q1 value will be equals to C1V and Q2 will be equals to C2V. This will be the value for the total charge after sharing. Again using the same formula for the charge, where Q it is equals to CV and Q it is equals to Q1 plus Q2. These two formulas, which are the basic formulas for the capacitance, which we have taken from the definition of the capacitance, this is to be used. So this is the charge after sharing. This is before sharing, this is after sharing. Before sharing you may call it as equation number 1, after sharing you may call it equation number 2, and then you can equate. Because we are saying no charge is lost, so it means we can equate both these. So you will be writing this as C1 V1 plus C2 V2, which is equals to C1 plus C2 into V. V can be taken common. So from there you can write the value of V, which is equals to C1 V1 plus C2 V2 divided by C1 plus C2. This is the expression for the Coleman potential when two capacitors they are joined with the conducting wire. Thank you everyone.